1045 The Team, 1045theteam.com. On the phone right now with Joe Nathan, 377 career saves, member of the Tigers organization, second among active players in career saves. Joe, first and foremost, you're coming off Tommy John surgery for the second time. How's the elbow feeling?
Everything feels great. Right now, right now it's just worrying about health and getting in as good a shape as I can. I've been a few different workouts and just trying to transform myself for when I can do baseball stuff. Just be as prepared as I can and get my body in as good a shape as I can to withstand the load that I'm going to be looking to do come competition time, and trying to get that hooked onto a club and make sure they know and trust that I'm ready to go.
Well, we certainly are rooting for your health and success in 2016. Switching gears to the World Series, Royals up 2-0 on the Mets. Man, Kansas City's offense has just worn down this Mets vaunted pitching staff. What have their hitters done with their approach in this series?
They really haven't changed a whole lot from the years. I think the one thing they have done is got more mature. But as far as the way they grind out at bats, they don't give away at bats. They make a starting pitcher work. You have to throw something other than a first pitch fastball because they're aggressive. If you're going to throw a first pitch heater, they will attack that. But for the most part, they're going to make a guy work, especially if there's a guy out there that like the Mets have. They're very deep, so they know they got to try and get into that bullpen as quick as they can. So they make it hard on the pitcher. You saw last night with DeGrom, as good as he's been. He had to start a lot of hitters off with off-speed stuff and really grind at bats out. And, as you see later in the game, it pays off when they start putting good swings on ball. They didn't swing and miss a whole lot, which they don't do. I've gotten my fair share of faith in these guys. So, it is a grind every time you get out there. And each guy, 1 through 9, has kind of the same mentality. They kind of feed off each other and just grind out at bats and make a pitcher work way harder than they're normally accustomed to.
The Mets are heading home, heading back to Citi Field. How confident should Mets fans be knowing that they are playing at Citi Field? How much does home field really matter in baseball?
It does. I mean, when you have a crowd, especially a playoff crowd, if they're into it, you feed off of it, especially when you're down right now. This is a time when when you could kind of, hear a crowd that's behind you and get that energy. When you're down behind the 8 ball a little bit, behind 2-0, you tend to get down. But when a crowd starts to get crazy, when a crowd gets crazy like that, it's definitely nice to hear. So, the Mets right now, I think the big thing for them is just realize they don't got to try and win 4 games at once. I think if they can win Game 3, they're right back in this thing. It becomes a 2-1 series, and anything could happen in the World Series in the playoffs. So, don't get too far ahead of yourself and look too far ahead and think you got to do too much. Just concentrating on winning 1 game. And, obviously it's a huge game for the Mets, but, don't put too much weight on it. Just concentrate on making it 2-1 and go from there.
Regardless of what happens in this series, I think we can all agree that the Mets have a bright future with that young rotation. Just how good are these guys? And have you ever seen, a foursome like this?
You've seen it before. I think you've seen, rotations come into play where people are like, oh, potentially this could be really good. This has the makings of being a really good rotation. And, sometimes they don't pan out. These guys had a great season this year. The one thing you always hope for when you do have a rotation like this, when you have them protected for so long, you have them under control for so long, you hope for good health, first of all, especially with power arms. That's always the first worry is, will this guy stay healthy? How many innings do we put on him? How much do we just throw at them at an early stage in their career? But, a lot's going to depend on them and, how they go moving forward, how many stressful innings they have, just how their innings are piled up. So, that's just something to be seen as a future, as the future goes forward. So, with these guys, the sky's the limit. I mean, obviously you got, everybody in that rotation could be an ace on somebody else's staff with how they throw. They're throwing upper 90s, sometimes around 100, as you will see with Syndergaard in the next start. So, obviously very fun to watch. So, for Met fans, they should be excited, not just for this year and whatever happens this year, great, but they had a great season this year. But moving forward, they're going to be around playoff baseball and see some great games, in the future and hopefully for a long time.
I think a guy that we're all rooting for in this World Series is David Wright. We know about the hard road it's taken him to get back to being able to play, period, throughout the rehab process. You've been through the rehab process. You're going through it now. Just take us behind the scenes. How grueling is this for David Wright just to be able to get out there day in and day out?
Going through the process, it's just more of that daily grind. For me, it's the physical part's not. It's not crazy hard. It's really more mentally than anything to just get up day in and day out and get into the gym. And sometimes it becomes monotonous. It becomes boring. You're doing the same, especially early on in the rehab. You're really limited on what they're going to allow you to do. So it just becomes really monotonous, really boring, and you got to fight yourself mentally to get through that because it is important. Going through all of those things is very important in the process, and each step is. There's not one thing that's less important than the next. So even though it may seem very tedious and not like you're getting anything out of it, you just got to treat it as this is the most important thing I'm doing for myself right now. So, that's the tough part. The mental part is definitely the hardest part. But, for me, you got to get into a rhythm where you just enjoy it. Fortunately for me, I've kind of gotten into that mode where, working out is something I enjoy as much as getting out there on the baseball field. So for me, it's become easy to go through this stuff, and it's helped me to come back. So, hopefully again, that's what helps me get through it. But for him, I'm pretty sure he always kept his eye on the prize and what he was doing all this work for. And now that he's in the World Series, I think it's obviously worth it tenfold. So, I'm sure he'd go through it again if he had an opportunity to play where he's at right now.
Joe, I'm a baseball nerd, so I have to ask, guy you've played with and against, just how good is Miguel Cabrera up close day in and day out?
Outstanding. Not just, everybody knows what he does on the field. That's one thing, but the thing that impresses me the most is his mental approach is second to none. He could be 0 for his last 30, or he could be 29 for his last 30, and you would not know the difference with his mental attitude in the clubhouse, how he is around the guys. He's a kid. He plays his game. He plays it like he's playing Little League. Watching him swing the bat, just so comfortable, so relaxed. Like I said, even when he is in a funk, you wouldn't know it. Each at bat, it seems like the pitcher's got to work his butt off. He knows at any point that Miguel can hurt him and win a game. So, he doesn't. He's one of those guys that doesn't give away many at bats, and he's got power to boot. So it's one of those rare combinations of a professional hitter that can drive a ball, 450 feet. So it's he's a rare combination of a good human being, good teammate, and a superstar on the field.
Joe, last question. Another guy you played with in both Minnesota and Detroit, Torrey Hunter, announced his retirement earlier this week. What was it like having him patrol center field for you out in Minnesota and then later right field out there in Detroit?
No, just a great human being. What a guy. He's going to be missed in baseball. He's going to be, it's one of those guys, rare breeds that you just see that everybody loves. Everybody smiles around him. He has that personality that just he just brings leadership, and everybody wants to be around this guy, wants to hear what he has to say. He's done so many things in the game, so many great things on and off the field. But the one thing I think everyone's going to miss is just, his jokes, his laughter, his smile, and his leadership in a clubhouse. That's going to be the one thing that I think most people are going to miss the most for sure.
Joe Nathan, Major League Baseball pitcher, the Tigers organization, second among active players in career saves with 377. Joe, best of luck in your return for 2016. Get healthy. Want to see you back out there on the mound soon. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.